Good day everyone, I am Ranilat Arbaldoria, English major. So in this video, I am going to present to you the learning process and the different theories of education. So I'm going to discuss first the learning process. Let us define what is learning. Learning is a mental activity wherein knowledge, skills, habits, attitudes, and ideals are acquired, retained, and utilized, resulting in the progressive adaptation and modification of conduct and behavior. So that is according to Bugalski, 1956. In other words, learning is the process of acquiring new understanding, new knowledge, behaviors, skills, values, attitudes, and concepts. So the ability to learn is not only possessed by us, the humans, but also for those non-humans, such as the animals, even the plants, and the some machines. They also have the ability to learn and adapt from their environment. So under the types of learning, we have sensory motor. Sensory motor is the understanding of the external world through sense perception, development of movements as a reaction to stimuli. Next is the cognitive. The rational, it is the rational, mental, intellectual, or intellectual development. So cognitive learning is an active learning style that focuses on helping you to learn how to maximize your brain's potential. So under cognitive uh, learning, we have the association learning and the problem solving learning. So association learning is the acquisition and retention of facts and information. It is also the establishing relationships among ideas and experiences. So the process related to association learning takes place through experience. So our experiences teach us what benefits us and what is harmful to us. So although we don't have always get the same results with the same acts, past events are fairly a reliable guide for our future actions. While problem solving is the overcoming difficulties that appear to interfere with the attainment of the goal. So how are you going to solve the problem uh, that you can encounter while attaining your goal? So that is problem solving and association learning under cognitive type of learning. Next one is the affective or the appreciative type of learning. So it involves acquisition of attitudes and interests as well as experiences that will lift the individual above tangible values associated with everyday life. So under affective or appreciative type of learning, we have the aesthetic appreciative experiences and intellectual appreciative experiences. So from the word aesthetic, so aesthetic appreciative experiences obtained in the field of music, art, and literature, while the intellectual appreciative experiences is based on the premise that all learning has emotional correlates. So it has something to do with our emotions. Okay, so those are the three types of learning: the sensory motor, cognitive learning, and the affective learning. Now, moving on to the theories of learning. First one is the stimulus response, SR, or the association theory. So it states that for every stimulus, there is a corresponding response. So, stimulus response theory is under the connectionism of Edward Lee Thorndike. That is Thorndike. It assumes that human activities are based on the association or connection between stimulus and response. So, under stimulus response, we have the law of effect, law of exercise, and the law of readiness. So, let's discuss first the law of effect. Law of effect is is strengthened if it results in satisfaction, that is satisfaction, but it is weakened if it leads to vexation or annoyance. So the law of effect states that if responses to stimuli produce a satisfying effect, they are likely to be repeated. But if responses produce an unsatisfying effect, they are likely to be avoided. So one example of that law of effect is the experiment of Thorndike with the cats. So he would place the cat in the box. So outside the box is a scrap. There is a scrap of fish. So as the cats looked for ways to get the fish, they would try to escape the box. So escaping was as easy as pulling a lever. So mahihilain lang sa box. So when the cat pulled the lever, they were able to live and enjoy the fish. So Thorndike observed the cats can be placed in the box over and over again under the same condition. So he saw that the time it took to pull the lever decreased as the cats associated the lever with the fish. So this helped him to develop that law of effect. So the cats enjoyed the scrap of fish that they could access by pulling the lever. If an angry dog if I instead of putting a scrap of fish outside the box, if we put an angry dog, the law of effect states that those cats inside the box would not be pulling any lever. So we seek responses with positive effects, strengthening the relationship between stimulus and the response. So that is the law of effect. Next one is the law of exercise. It is constant repetition of a response strengthens its connection with the stimulus, while disuse of a response weakens it. So the law of exercise um, is an element within Thorndike's work that he later modified. So initially, Thorndike believed that frequent connections of stimulus and response strengthened the connection. The more often a cat was given the opportunity to pull a lever and receive a fish, for example, the stronger that connection would be and the more likely they would pull the lever. But as Thorndike continued his work, he realized that this was not necessarily true. If the response leads to an unsatisfying effect or punishment, the connection between the stimulus and the response will not be strengthened. But Thorndike observed that the connection may not be weakened every time the subject gets punished. And the last one is the law of readiness. So, when an individual is prepared to respond or act, allowing him to do so is satisfying, whereas preventing him would be annoying. So, the law of readiness states that the relationship between stimulus and response is strengthened based on the subject's readiness to learn. So, who are the subject? It can be an animal or a person. So, if that subject is not interested or ready to learn, they will not connect stimulus and response as strongly as someone who is eager and excited. So, being subject to continuous trials of pulling levers and escaping boxes sounds exhausting, nakakapagod, right? So, if a cat or if a human or any creature any creature is too tired to try something out, they might just uh, take a cat nap or a nap and leave the response hanging. So this idea fits into Thorndike's law of readiness. Moving on to the second theory, which is the social learning theory. So it was introduced by psychologist Albert Bandura, He proposed that learning occurs through observation, imitation, and modeling, and is influenced by factors such as attention, motivation, attitudes, and emotions. So the theory accounts for the interaction of environmental and cognitive elements that affect how people learn. Okay, so these are the things that we need to know about social learning theory. First, as people can learn through observation. So, uh, first one is people can learn through observation. So, example of this is the experiment of uh, the Bobo doll. The children in this experiment of Bandura will observe an adult acting violently toward a Bobo doll. So when the children were later allowed to play in a room with that Bobo doll, they began to imitate the aggressive actions they had previously observed. So Bandura demonstrated that children learn and imitate behaviors that they have observed in other people. People can learn through observation. Second, mental states are important to learning. So, Bandura noted that external and environmental reinforcement was not the only factor to influence learning and behaviors. And he realized that reinforcement does not always come from outside sources. So, your own mental state and motivation play an important role in determining whether a behavior is learned or not. So, your mental states are important to learning. Next one is learning does not necessarily lead to behavior change. So, how can we determine when something has been learned? So, in many cases, learning can be seen immediately when the new behavior is displayed, right? So, for example, when you teach a child how to ride a bicycle, and you can quickly determine and you can quickly see if learning has occurred if that child ride his own bicycle on his own or unassisted. But sometimes we are able to learn things even though that learning might not be able might not be immediately obvious. So while social learning theory demonstrates that people can learn new information without demonstrating new behavior. Okay, so those are the things that we need to know about social learning theory. First, people can learn through observation. Second, mental states are important to learning. And third, learning does not necessarily lead to behavior change. The third theory is the cognitive field theory. So otherwise known as uh, field theory describes how a person gains understanding of himself and his world in a situation where his self and his environment compose a totality of mutually interdependent coexisting events. So this theory defines learning as relativistic process by which a learner develops new insights and changes the old ones. Under cognitive field theory is the insight learning. So this theory is based on the experiment conducted by Wolfgang Kohler on the chimpanzee. Kohler postulated that the more intelligent the organism and the more experiences he has, the more capable he is of gaining higher insight. So this is the experiment and the chimpanzee, the theory of insightful learning. So Kohler kept a monkey or a chimpanzee in a large cage, which is the chimpanzee is hungry. So he kept the chimpanzee in a large cage, hungry. He hung bananas from the ceiling of the cage and kept a box on the floor of the cage. So nag-iwan siya ng box sa loob ng cage. The monkey could not reach the banana. Another box was put in the corner of the cage. So dalawa na yung box. But The monkey could not get the idea of placing one box on the other and thus reaching the banana. So Collard gave demonstration of putting one box on the other. The monkey could now learn the whole situation, so he used his intelligence and insight to put the two boxes once upon the other and stand on it so he can reach the banana. Another experiment is the experiment with the two sticks. Sa monkey pa rin. In another experiment, Collard kept two sticks in a cage. One end of the shorter sticks could be fitted in the one end of the longer stick. So, pwede siyang pagdugtungin. So as to make them longer. The monkey did not get the idea of forming the two sticks through trial and error. So, when Collard gave a hint, through putting his finger in the putting his finger in the hole of the bigger stick, the monkey viewed the whole situation and performed the right task through understanding uh, the demonstration of color on the stick. Next is the vector and topological theory. So it is derived from the terms vector, which means a quantity that has magnitude and direction, and topology unaltered by elastic deformation. So as a learning theory, it was advanced by Kurt Lewin and states that individuals exist on a field of forces within his environment that move, change, and give him a degree of stability and substance or define his behavior. And the last one under cognitive field theory is the Gestalt learning. So, Gestalt is a term which means a structure, configuration, or pattern of physical, biological, or psychological phenomena so integrated as to constitute a functional unit with properties not derivable by summation of its parts. So, Gestalt literally means whole or unified, buo. So this theory postulates the idea that everything we encounter. The fourth under cognitive field theory is the instrumental conceptualization. So it is advocated by Jerome Bruner. The acquisition of whatever form of knowledge is always a dynamic and interactive process because the learner purposively participates in the process of knowledge acquisition who selects, structures, retains, and transform information. The fifth theory is the subsumption theory. So it is based on the works of David Paul Ausubel. It is concerned with how individuals learned large amounts of meaningful material from verbal or textual presentations in a school setting. So a major instructional mechanism proposed by Ausubel is the use of advanced organizers. So what is that advanced organizer? So advanced organizers are valuable tools that mentally help learners learn and retain knowledge. So it enables them to combine new knowledge with what they already know. So that can lead them to a meaningful learning. So for example, if for example their instructor or their teacher provide a brief description or a preview, just a preview of the topic that they are about to learn. So learners will be able to start with the big picture of that topic, and then they will lead to new ideas, theories, and concepts existing the ideas ex- through through the existing ideas that they can relate to the new topic. So Ausubel emphasizes that advanced organizers are different from overviews and summaries, which simply emphasize key ideas and are presented at the same level of abstraction and generally as the rest of the material. So the main or the major instructional mechanism on this subsumption theory is the advanced organizer of David Paul Ausubel. And the last one is the conditions of learning. So this theory stipulates that there are several different types or levels of learning. So the significance of these classifications is that each different types requires different types of instruction. So Gagne identifies five major categories of learning, which is the verbal information, intellectual skills, cognitive strategies, motor skills, and attitude. So, in addition, this theory um, outlines nine instructional events and corresponding cognitive processes. First is the gaining attention or the reception. So, in um, gaining attention, this event aims to capture the learner's attention and engage them in the learning process. So it can be achieved through the use of stimulating and relevant stimuli or by posing questions or problems. So in that gaining attention or reception, so how are you going uh, to get the attention of your learners to be involved in the learning process? Next one is the informing learners of the objective or the expectancy. So, learners need to be aware of the specific learning objectives or goals that they are going to or they are expected to achieve. Clear communication of these objectives helps to focus their attention and to motivate them to learn. And also, the objectives will serve as their guide throughout the uh, will serve as the guide of the learners and also the teacher throughout the discussion. Next is stimulating recall of prior learning or the retrieval. So, activating prior knowledge helps them connect new information to existing mental framework. So, by reviewing relevant concepts or experiences, learners can build upon what they already know. So, you need to stimulate or recall the prior learning in order for them to connect that existing knowledge to the new knowledge that they're going to receive. Next one is presenting the stimulus rather, or the selective perception. So the instructional content is presented to the learners in a structured and organized manner. So it should be logically sequenced, chunked into manageable units, and delivered using appropriate instructional strategies and uh, strategies such as lectures, visuals, or multimedia. So you are now going to present the content of the discussion. How are you going to present it? Presented in an organized and structured manner. Next is providing learning guidance or the semantic encoding. So learners need guidance and support to understand and acquire new knowledge or skills. So this event involves providing clear explanations, examples, demonstrations, and instructions to assist learners in grasping the content. So you're going to provide clear explanation of the content or of the topic. Next one is the eliciting performance or the responding. Dito na magre-respond yung mga students through performance. So learners are given opportunities to practice what they have learned. So this active participation helps reinforce the newly acquired knowledge or skills and allows for the feedback and correction if needed. So, dito na papasok yung providing feedback and reinforcement. So, learners receive feedback on their performance, indicating whether they have achieved the desired learning outcomes. So, it helps them to assess their progress, identify their areas of improvements, and to reinforce correct understanding or behavior. Next is the assessing performance or retrieval. So these events, it involves assessing learners' performance to determine the extent to which they have achieved the learning objectives. Dito na i-assess if nakuha ba yung target objectives or nakuha ba yung expectancy. So various assessment methods such as quizzes, tests, or practical experiences can be used to evaluate their progress. And the last one is the enhancing retention and transfer or the generalization. So this is the final event. It focuses on promoting long-term retention and transfer of the learned material to real-world context. So strategies such as providing opportunities for review, application in the different situations, and promoting transfer of knowledge to other domains are employed to solidify learning. So that ends my discussion. Those are the different theories in education. Now, let's have a short assessment regarding the discussed topic. So directions, you are going to choose the latter of the best answer. So that ends my discussion. Thank you everyone for listening. Goodbye.